grab it here. So time to add some more disk space to the home server setup. So what I did is I went and purchased some more hard drive disk holders. I already went through the whole process of how to install disks on the machine, so this episode will be a little bit more of a quick overview. So, but anyway, what you do is you need to, or I can recommend that you get these caddies with the status indicator, and then you need to install the hard drives in these, and then we'll go ahead and install it on the server and do the setup stuff. But I'll show just as a refresher. I'll show how to install the hard drive in one of these, and I'll do the rest offline. So anyway, whole pile of disks. Now, what happened is that I went on a site and I there was an auction ongoing, and I just decided to bid a very, very low sum because I thought, oh, well, whatever, I'll see what happens. And the wording in the auction, as an afterthought, I think maybe could have been misunderstood that it was for, not for what was actually for sale. So maybe some people would misunderstand, because it did say on the top level that it was 20, but then when you went into the details, then it was a little bit more clear. So I think many didn't want to bid. So what I happened to do is that I actually got these for a very low price. So either unscrewed or the other people were unlucky. So we'll see if any of these work. But I mean, it's quite nicely packaged from the seller, so I can't really complain. And I've already cut through all the massive tape they put around it, so we can actually open it up and do it. As you see, they actually spent a decent amount of time packing these, so I'm not really personally complaining of the quality of the glitter. And it's all styrofoam on the top. And then, so, and then here we have the discs, and I have 600 gig discs. If you've been following my channel, then know what I installed. So these are basically pretty much, they're the same SAS discs, except that these are 900 gigs. And then I should, how many did I buy? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I bought, it was 20, it should be 20. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, so it's a grand total of 20. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to distribute these on the 2 servers that I have. So one server will get, each server will get 10 disks, and then we'll then configure it. And just as a reminder, one of them is running Windows and one of them is running Linux. So then you'll see how to configure them for each case. But anyway, so let's get started up with some initial work. So anyway, here we have one of the caddies removed. So it has this click mechanism with the status indicator, and then it comes with a bag of screws, and I don't know why they have 5 screws in this bag. That's the way it came to me. And then I have to install some. Try and show it. So put it in there and you let it down. And then there are 1, 2, before. So that one is installed. So 2 screws there, 2 screws on the other side, and then like that. So now I notice these are IBM brand also. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually work, or how many of them work. So that's all the caddies unpacked. So that's the hard drives and the caddies. So here's my server. It's not the most optimal place for taking a video, but try our best. Anyway, so this has 25 bays, and actually it has also 2 extra locations for storage. So basically it has 27 physical locations. And then what you can do is that you can, and both of these are identical from a storage configuration perspective. So what you can do is you can group physical hard drives into logical drives. So this is logical drive 1, and that's the 600 gig drives. And then I'm going to start the 900s that I have from here. And then I'm going to fill these 2 bays, and then these 2 bays. And then this is going to be logical drive 2, so that I can use the complete capacity. And then it means that I can actually add some disks here and then fill this last if I ever need that amount of capacity. And the location I have the servers is not the cleanest environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some air, and then I'm going to try and clean out the dust and cobwebs and stuff. So just to these drawers and populate the bays. Well, let's see if I can remember how these work. So these have this caddy, and then you press the light button and then it unlocks. And then it needs to go in that way around. Let's see if I can show at least one. I won't show all of them because it's the same procedure for all of them. It goes in there, and then you press it shut, and then you have to see that it's in the So I just make sure that it's slotted in at the same amount as these ones that are already in. It protrudes out the same amount, and it seems to be locked in place. So I'm going to show one more. It doesn't matter in what order we put these in, because they are identical theoretically speaking. And you don't have to push them in completely. You use this locking mechanism to do the last, I would say the last around 2 millimeters. Like that, and then you pull it in as close as we can. And then we take the next one. it in, I believe. So, anyway, I'll get them all plugged in. There's one thing I just forgot to mention. You can actually install the hard drives when the machine is on, or when the server is on, so it supports hot swap. But you wouldn't hear me what I'm saying if I had the servers on, as you will notice when we start it up. It's going to be more difficult to hear. And then I'm sorry for the background hissing noise. That's one of my air hoses is leaking. Can't do much about that right now. Okay, continue putting in drives. So that's all the drives plugged in, and what we're going to do now is I'm going to start both servers and see if any of them wake up, or if there's any of them that immediately start showing signs of like blinking that they're failed before we actually even try and configure anything. So let's give it a go. A lot of blinking. That's positive. What you don't want to see is these lighting up. Is anybody going to drive? So I'll be fast forwarding this video, because it takes a while for it to run through its diagnostics. So when the original discs when these ones stabilize, then we know that these must be registered at least. And then of course we need to check if the operating system is loaded on both machines after this procedure. They won't go green. Now these won't go green because they're not configured. I'm not expecting these to be green. So we're going to have to go into the smart storage manager, or whatever it's called, and to get these configured. I think that's enough for now in the server room, so next thing is to kind of go and check what it looks like in ILO, and then do the boot so we can get into the allocation, RAID allocation, smart array or whatever it's called. So now we jump into ILO, and then we have a look at the system information, and I shut the server down again. So I'm only going to show this on one server because it's the same logic for both. Have a look at storage. And this is where I remembered actually wrong, but when you look at this storage information, if you don't have this, what was it called? It's some kind of an agent software installed, and I think that needs to be on the operating system side, so that ILO will get the information about the disks that aren't configured yet. So actually, what you see here in the storage information in ILO by default is only the disks that are configured. So here we can see the logical view. So we have 2 ports here. Oh wait, how was it? Yeah, so the first logical drive And then we have the disks for that. Okay, it's showing the driver enclosures first, and then okay, here we go. Then we have the logical drive, and then this is the active logical drive that we already saw on the server. But you can't see the non-configured disks here. So what we need to do is we need to go to remote console. And I'm going to use the HTML5 console. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get into the RAID controller configuration, the smart controller configuration, and that requires that I, wait a lot, and I'm looking for a specific, I think it was F9 to get into, but it will report other devices. So I'm not going to record the whole process because it depends on what your specific server configures. So I'll be back when I get into the configuration software. So now we need to wait for it to hit the disk controller, so we can get in there and configure the disks. So not this controller, so as we will see. Doesn't have the any drives. This one. So that was F5. Let's hope I can catch the next one. Now it comes up with a very... No, it actually went into it this time. This is what I've been having a problem with, that when I go through the sequence, let's see that if it actually goes into the software now. Many times it doesn't take the F5. see if it actually jumps into the configuration program. Yes. It's actually surprisingly difficult to get it to go into here. I've had countless times had problems with, even if I just think I've been hitting F5 at the right time, and then still sometimes it just like, and then it's like either it will just like continue into the operating system. Well, then what also is an odd thing, I press F5 and then I get a very fast like 3 options with function keys as the selection criteria, a text. So I just about have enough time to recognize the 2 first options, and then it continues and jumps into the booting the operating system. But anyway, now we're in here. So let's see, and the cursor control is a bit yeah, not very good, because it's the pointer doesn't end up with the pointer in the virtualized terminal. Configuration. Use the correct mouse. I'll look at that one. So that's logical drives. That's logical drive 1. And then here we have a bunch of unassigned disks. And it's actually showing 10 disks, which is actually very nice to have. Let's see. Oh, I hope I'm going to be able to use these menus now. Because now I have that offset problem that the mouse pointer is not where it's supposed to. Okay, let's see if we select a drive. So I think we need to use create array. So let's see. This is actually going to be hard because of this mouse cursor offset. If I do this, let's see if I can. No, that doesn't help. Because this doesn't, yeah, of course, this doesn't happen if I run it physically on the server. Okay, that was weird. So if I go very fast to the side, then it comes with. Okay, so here we have the unassigned disks, and they are in box 1, and then they start from bay 15. Or 14. Yeah, so that's 10 drives in 2 different groups. Why is this one down? Okay, so that depends what port it's connected to. Select all drives. I hope I'm going to be doing the right thing now. See what happens. Yes, look at that. So array B. And that's actually what I want. And then we need to, and then we see that it's unassigned, and then we see that there's a limitation in the capacity because of its array unit. And then we're just going to create a logical drive. And then we can select what RAID we want to have. Without using the other RAID. Let's see. Okay, I've selected RAID 6. I must admit I can't remember what was my justification. But I think that we could use the same here. Use the suggested strip sizes and stuff, and maximum size. To get it saved. So that's that for. Try and exit. Oh, come on. And then we will have a look in ILO and see if we should see the drives configured up to the start. It's actually a bit. See small we can make it. Yeah. And then we go to system information. I don't know, can't remember if it reflects directly. Let's see here. Look at storage info. Logical view. Those are those boxes. Here's that one. Where do we see? Yeah, logical drive 1 and logical drive 2. Oh, that's good. And all of it looks green. Let's be paranoid and try and count the disks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, seems to be tenderized. So, now we will let that go into the operating system, and then we will, configure the drive for use from the operating system's perspective. And as I said, I have 2 operating systems. I wonder if I mean, okay, I will show and or document how to get the drives in the this logical drive into use in the operating system. But anyway, let's let it boot up. I just thought I'd take a quick picture or video of the server. You see, the ones on the left-hand side of the old disks, and they are pretty much a permanent green light. And then the new ones that are going through the striping process, and as you can see, then you've got this kind of rotating green status circle. So what we need to do is we need to wait until that ends. And as we can see, there's none of the disks are got a red light on it, and that means that the disk has not failed. So this, where it says that it can't authenticate that it's an original drive, it could also be that it's the, because I seem to remember that the caddy itself has a code on it. These original ones that actually have this special status light, that can also have a code. So I'm actually thinking that the system's just reading that code and just, oh, I can't recognize this code, and then it's saying that the disk is an original. And there's currently no evidence that any of these disks are non-operational. Pulled it out, blew on it a bit, and reinserted it, and then waited for the system to start up, or the striping process to start. So I'm going to have a look in the ILO and see what the status is, but I don't think it's online. So now we're in a Windows server. Yeah, one of my servers, and then you just go into disk management, and then as you see, then the extra drive pops up here. That's disk 1, and then we just say yeah, and as you see, it wasn't possible to do anything, and the issue is that the RAID controller is now parity striping the drives, so you can't actually use the drives until that's done. So don't panic if you do like what I did. Everything should be okay, and then you come in here and I can't allocate anything. So yeah, you can. Oh, wait a second. Where can you see that status? I actually had a look at the servers. That's what I usually done, because when you've got a revolving light in the status display of each and every drive in that group of 10, and it continues going around, it's not a permanent green, then it's doing this parity stripe. Man, it's hot. I had to put the air conditioning on. Sorry for the sound, but anyway, now it's completed striping, and then the first action is this will be disk 1 will be not accessible, so you can't right click and select new simple volume. So to get that, you need to go here, which is not very intuitive, and then you need to right click, and then you need to say, then there'll be a menu option called initialize, and then you can choose what partition type you want to use, and that should be GPT for this large partition. And then it's just to come in here and say, okay, new simple volume, and then I just take the whole thing, and I'll just make it D drive, and NTFS, and let's say, what would I call it then? That was in line with what let's see, what did I call the other one? Okay, that's system. I wonder if I should call it. We just make it for data. The other one is the system drive. And then quick format is selected. And then we say finish. And as you see now, it's bingo, it's here. And let's take File Explorer. This one. Now we have a D drive here, and then what I usually do is I try and create create a folder of data, create let's put up text file. Oh, strange. Why did that take so long? So basically that's just a real basic test to see that we have a sane disk, and you can create folders and you can create files. So now we can consider it in use. And now you can, of course, you can create folders and yeah, do all the normal stuff. So I consider this one complete now. I haven't actually decided how to use the drive. I think I might share it on as a separate vault, but we'll see. So moving on, so the next thing is to how do you get the disk configured on the Ubuntu server. So I thought one option would be to show it live on the terminal and just hacking in commands, but then I thought that maybe it would be more clear if I just go through the commands, and then I'll copy paste this into the video comments. So the first thing we want to do is we want to find out what disks we have available on the system. So basically you have the main disk, which was the logical drive 1, and then we have here, we can see that there's appeared another disk, and this is the logical drive, the second logical drive that we configured. It provides a lot of other information, but it's not the only thing that's of interest. Is what is the device name and the logical name of the disk. And it's non-partitioned, so like on Windows you need to actually set the partition type and then partition it. So I use parted to do this, so you say parted and then the device name. And then we make a label, it GPT, unit is terabytes, and then we make a partition here. So then we say that's the primary partition, the file system type is external 4, and then we start from 0% and go up to 100%. And then to confirm that we've actually got this thing, where we issue the print command, then it actually shows you what the configuration is, and then just quit to get out of there. And then we need to update the fstab info, so that the next time you boot the system, then it actually gets mounted. So that's yeah. Then we have to make the file system on the disk, which is this external 4, and then we create a mount point for it. This is the kind of recommended location for extra disks, so you put it under the folder media, and I just call it vaultlarge. And then this is important that you remember to change the access rights to that created folder, so that it can actually be accessed more generally than just the root user. And then we go into fstab, and then we define the automatic mount point. And so basically we tell you STB1 should map to this vaultlarge. It's an extended 4, we use default options. I can't remember what the 0 and 2 is. And then we just issue a command to execute the mount again to refresh it. And then I added this section here of sharing it. If you want to share it on the network to Windows machines, then you go into the SMP config file, and then you add the share section for it. And then you just restart the SMB NMB services. As I said, I thought this would be better just to run it through like as an instruction than hacking it in the terminal, making mistakes on the commands and stuff. But I have run this myself, so all these commands I executed myself, and I ended up with a working system, so it should be correct, validated from that perspective. So that was a bit of a process, but I hope it helps anybody else who wants to add disks to their servers. And then of course this is generally speaking, this instruction is applicable to pretty much any HP, and it doesn't have to be specifically generation 8, it could be 9s or 10s. I mean, they haven't changed the fundamental process of how these things get done over time. Then when it comes to the disks, that I had a problem that it didn't identify the disks. I've ordered a disk, a couple extra disks and a couple of extra caddies. and I may or may not make a video about it. You know, add a comment if you think you would like to see the resolution of that, cleanup of that remaining issue. Otherwise, I just might actually just go swap out the disk and be done with it. And it doesn't need that disk to operate, because you have the RAID configuration, so it can survive. It can run the disk subsystem missing. I think the reason I used the RAID 6 configuration was that it can lose up to two drives and then still continue working. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. I didn't look it up, but I think that was the main reason I used that RAID configuration, because you know I am running old equipment, used disks, so you know the probability is higher that they will fail. However, I must say that my experience is that the system has been very reliable, and I'm actually very surprised that the disks are surviving the way they are, because the most mechanical cleanliness and thermal environment those servers sit in is by far from optimum. I mean, the temperature range over the year can go from like minus 30 Celsius to plus 30, yeah, maybe 35 Celsius. So I'm actually surprised that the servers and the disks have actually been working flawlessly. That is, I don't know. Maybe it shouldn't. Maybe it's not amazing. But I think I think it's kind of impressive. And I do have two servers, so it's not like an example of one. This is an example of two. So I must say they're pretty hardy equipment. And taking into account that it's already burnt out equipment. I mean, the servers are used, the disks are used. There's no idea how many hours has been on both of them. So yeah. But anyway, I'll just continue using them. And as I said, with a RAID configuration, if a disk fails, then the RAID system will catch it, and then one can just go swap out the disk and it will rebuild the array. So basically, it's I doubt that you'd have a catastrophic situation if it's not a power fluctuation problem or a controller card failure or something. That of course can happen, but if it's a question of normal disk failures, there's pretty much no risk of losing data. Anyway, I hope you found this useful, and this covers both the Windows Server and Ubuntu Server configuration. I must admit that the RAID configuration, the firmware, the user interface was slightly different on the other server, and I was thinking, oh, should I make a video about it? But then it's just that they've redone the layout a bit, but the functionality that I demonstrated in this video is exactly the same. So I thought, there's no point in overdoing it. Anyway, see you in the next one.